we're good. All right, everyone. It is now 2:30, so welcome back on a hopefully cooler day than as we've had earlier this week. So welcome to the 7th lecture of Comp 290. It's great to see you all here. Thank you for your great work so far. I know there's been kind of a more compressed timeline of assignments, and there was also some issues with exercise 4 that we're still working through. So appreciate your patience on that as well. We're going to get started today talking a little bit about final projects. So I will preface this by saying that we still have, including this lecture, 8 lectures to go for the rest of the semester. So we are a little bit before halfway done. But we did want to introduce this in detail now so that we provide a large amount of time for you all to be able to work on it, and you don't have to feel that it'll be too stressful. In addition, we think that some of the content that we'll be covering specifically to the final project, and as you'll be working through that, this should help you as well with some things that may be slightly more time sensitive. So that might be including preparing for any hackathons or thinking about the projects you may want to work on in the future over winter or later. If we start earlier, it will hopefully have a better impact for everyone. So I'll start off with some announcements. So the first one is that attendance grades up to this point should be up to date now in Canvas. I went in and I tried to modify, so this is for the intro survey, for some other things. If for whatever reason something looks incorrect, like for example, you completed the survey and it still says that it is incomplete in Canvas, please let me know. That's most likely a mistake that I made, so I can try and fix that for you. As you've probably seen, just as we talked about in I think on the first day with the syllabus, we are dropping the lowest one. So in Canvas, that should already be in there. So it should show the lowest grade will be dropped. If for whatever reason it's not showing that, then let me know. In addition, again, thanks for completing the 3 exercises that we've had over the last 2 weeks. Now, one thing is someone did email me, and so thank you for that, about AO5. So in GradeScope, AO5 was showing that I think it was due far earlier than what we said in the announcement. So we have adjusted that in GradeScope so that there's more time. However, if you've already completed it, the good news is that there'll be no homework for the rest of the week. So you are done. You don't have to worry about you won't have to worry about that. So we appreciate your patience there. Noah, did you have something to share about assignments? The thing about
thanks, Ajay.
Yep.
Something quick on assignments. So the entire point of them for us is we just want you guys to be exposed to things. Like it's really, we do make them kind of verbose sometimes, but not to make them like challenging. We don't like tricking you guys. We just want you guys to like get a good taste of everything that we think is important. So no worries at all. Like we get it, things come up. I have things come up all the time. Like you might miss an assignment. It might be difficult. Just let us know. Email us, especially ahead of time if you can, but even after the fact, because we'd much rather that like not penalize you on an assignment, and we'll work with you, of course, to like make sure that you have time to complete it, because we first and foremost, we just want you to be able to like see the material, learn it. If that takes some time, we totally get that. So just let us know. Feel free to talk to us in person or shoot us an email. But yeah, it's really just so you guys get to learn it. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you, Noah. So any questions about these things? Great. So again, we talked about this last week. We're going to showcase some of the events. The coffee chats we talked about, these are still going on, so feel free to scan the QR code if you're interested in talking to our student experience ambassadors about various things, such as classes, clubs, internships, mentorship, etc. In addition, the Meet CS event, I believe, was originally scheduled for Friday, if I remember correctly. And Friday was when the storm came through, so they rescheduled that. So it's now on October 11th. So the Meet CS event, the new date is October 11th. That should be the Friday after next, I think. So we're around 1.5 weeks away. So you can, I think, sign up here, and this will be in SN 11, just on the other side of the building. Refreshments will be provided as well. So these are for undergrad students interested in applying to the CS major. Which includes students who are in 210 or kind of pretty much this entire target audience for this class. So highly recommend checking it out. And again, another reminder about HackNC. registration is open, and I think KMP sent out an email about that today. So if you're interested in registering for Hack and See, highly recommend checking it out. In addition, and I'm actually going to check this on my phone here, because I think KMP sent an email that I did not have a chance to put into the announcements. Yes, there is a recruiter panel, which is actually today from 6:30 to 8 p.m. There will be pizza available, and it's basically you can hear from recruiters about the hiring process in the world of tech. There's recruiters from different companies like Fidelity, Genesis, SAS, Bandwidth, Lowe's, etc. So that is today in SN14 from 6:30 to 8. I will try and get a photo of that maybe on the Canvas or some announcement, but KMP also did send it out. So we highly recommend checking it out. There is a registration link. All of this information should also be available on the General CS department website. So if you're interested, recommend checking it out. All right, so another thing, for those who completed the survey, thank you for doing so. This is really helpful for us to help plan future lectures. We also had some great feedback regarding different things for the class. We had also a lot of great questions. Now, I responded in the discussion tab to a lot of the early questions, but since a lot of people submitted more questions in the last, right before it was due, due to the extension, those questions have not been answered. I'm going to try and answer those by this evening. So there are good questions about things that the class will cover. There's also some questions about specific Git stuff, so I'll try and answer all of that. If you're not familiar, you can find this in Canvas. So I'm going to log in here so that you can see what this looks like and where to access this. And if for whatever reason you haven't been on the Canvas discussions yet, or you're not getting alerts about that, it would be here. So if we go to Comp 290 and then to discussions, you can see that down here there is this feedback form question responses. And so here were a few questions, such as how many branches can exist at the same time, how do you ensure people don't steal our code, and I tried to write some explanations for all of these. So for the remaining questions, we'll hopefully get answers by the end of the day. All right, I think that's all for that. So a quick recap on A6. So this is I know the due dates, things got kind of arranged, right? So we had A04 due and then A06 and then technically A05 is due. We apologize. Because we gave extensions early on, things ended up getting kind of bunched up and reordered.
Yeah, sorry, that was my bad.
Yeah, but everything after this point should hopefully be a lot more, it should make sense. The numbering should make sense. So congratulations on completing your GitHub profile. I already looked through a lot of them just out of curiosity, and they're looking really, really good. This is really encouraging to see. There are a lot of majors, including juniors and seniors at UNC, who are not taking advantage of this and don't have a GitHub profile set up. So already you've made a very good step in being able to showcase your skills and try and building a digital presence and a platform, which in this day and age is becoming more increasingly useful and important to have. So in addition, you are encouraged as you work not only in this class or in other classes with an asterisk, because some professors don't want you to be posting their assignments, especially if they're reused. I will explicitly call out Comp 210 and Comp 301 because I think they probably will not allow you to post assignments on GitHub. But any other class or any side projects or even any workshops you work on, I highly recommend putting this on your GitHub profile. It helps show that you are working on these things, and it's generally helpful both for you to show off your skills and for other people to see. So we recommend, as you learned a little bit throughout the last few weeks on how to create GitHub profiles, how to push and pull from GitHub repositories, this will all hopefully help in you being able to showcase what you know. Hand it off to you, I think, for the next one.
All right, cool. So we're going to kick off today with letting you guys share your great work that you did with each other. We want this to be a really communal activity, so you can see all the instructions there. But yeah, basically just get into little groups here, stand up, go around, meet some new people, and talk about show each other your GitHub profiles first and foremost. If you go on Gradescope, the attendance check for today revolves around this activity and people's profiles. But yeah, just get to know each other a little bit. Here's some prompts if you want. But yeah, feel free to talk about whatever. Make sure GitHub's in there. Maybe start off with that. But yeah, go ahead and do that now. We really want everyone to get up and walk around, maybe meet some people on the other side of the room that you haven't met yet.
Yeah, you can try and create, in these aisles, little clusters of people.
Yeah.
And every 5 minutes we'll encourage people to switch sides of the room. So you can get started. Feel free. Everybody up.
Yeah,
everybody up.
Everyone
up.
let's stand up and try going somewhere you haven't gone yet. All right, and everyone, not ending this quite yet, actually. We're going to integrate this in the next activity. With the people you're with right now, try and answer this question. Come up with something. We'll talk about it once everyone's back in their seats. But think with your group, what are some professions that a computer scientist might go into? And what are some potential projects that you might work on in that profession? You know, there's some obvious ones, there's some less obvious ones. Get creative with it if you want. But yeah, just a little bit of food for thought. It's okay if you guys can't come up with more than a couple, but yeah, give that a talk.
Nice.
Should we call it random people?
Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah. Love it. I love the fact that we have a laser pointer. I love the fact that I have to cut that out of the video.
Wait, where's the camera?
By the way, I edited the video. I edited the video, but I forgot to post it on YouTube, so it's still not there. Yeah, that's my bad. I'll do it. Oh yeah.
And let's take the next few minutes here, seeing some conversations wind down. Yeah, some closing remarks, and let's try and get back to our seats here so we can talk about this, have a little bit of discussion.
I'm glad we got people though. I'm glad that people seem engaged.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to lead this or do you want me to?
If you want to, because I think I can talk about the. You probably have more to say.
Cool.
Yeah, you probably have more to say.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah, feel free to.
Sure.
Glad to see some good conversation there. Honestly, I was a little worried that the class might just be dead silent after we told people to talk to each other, so that's great. Hope you guys met someone that you haven't met before in here. But yeah, does anyone off the bat want to share what you guys came up with? I mean, there's obvious ones. Feel free to go for those. Maybe something a little less known rather, but anything's fair game here. Yeah.
System design or architecture would be a pretty good one.
Sorry?
System design.
System architecture, that's a good one. Do you want to expand on that? Maybe give a one-sentence description of what that is?
I feel like it's like all-expanding tech. Like it's not just like coding in a certain application, but of creating kind of basis diagrams and everything for how the application would go, the architecture behind the application, behind the technologies used in the application as well would be important. So maybe.
Yeah.
That sort. Yeah.
Great explanation. Yeah. So system architecture, you know, someone needs to build these systems, right? We write code, but then to run them, we need these systems that work, especially at scale when you have a lot of users in a very industrial sense. So yeah, you need people to put these systems together, make sure they work. That's a great one. Anybody else? Maybe we could do some random calls here on people. See what people talked about. All right. Let's see. I'll pick someone on this side of the room here. Sorry, baseball cap. cool hat. What'd you talk about?
We talked about a lot of things, but I kind of also said like data architecture.
Data architecture, nice. Yeah. Data architecture, data science, perhaps. You know, in that field. Yeah, very big thing on its own. Yeah, great answer. Anybody want to expand on that? Data-related fields. All right, we'll come over here to the middle here. Let's see. You're smiling now. You want to take a stab at it?
Just like we talked about like app development and just like stuff like that.
Yeah, great. You want to expand on that at all?
I mean, just like I don't really know what else to say about it. So.
There's app development is a big one. In fact, a lot of people who graduate will probably be working on apps either indirectly or directly. As we'll talk about, I mean, there's all the apps you use on your phone, like iOS and Android. There's developers for both of those. There's websites, etc. So,
yeah. And let's go one more over here, left side of the room. Sorry, I feel bad doing this, but I want to get some answers from some people. And I like your Nirvana shirt. Can I get an answer from you?
Just like random things like digital accessibility, I think is really cool. My dad works in that. Also like computational sciences, I think that's really neat. Like computer science, maybe working in tandem with other fields.
Those are both wonderful answers. Could you explain a little bit about both of those?
Yeah, so digital accessibility is just making like websites, user interfaces, everything accessible to people with disabilities, whether that's like blindness.
That people do not necessarily think of or take for granted, but there are a lot of people, as you're talking about, a lot of people are working in that field, and also that is a very, a lot of people like to think of, graduating from the bachelor's degree, going into a traditional software engineering field. But if you do continue in like a master's path or a more research-oriented role, that's another very, very big area of research. And there's a lot of people, trying to research how to make different things more accessible. AI is now going to be a big one. How to make AI more accessible to people who may have different types of disabilities. So that's a very good.
Yeah,
Very
awesome
good.
stuff.
Yeah.
And so we got some slides here. Thank you to everyone. Sorry for those who I picked on, but great answers all around. Here's some that we laid out here. Some that were mentioned, some that weren't. But the point of this really is that there's much more, and like we said, beyond what we have up here. These are just some very mainstream ones, perhaps ones that you're interested in. But the point of this is that we want you guys to sort of think about this stuff early on, especially because you're freshmen and sophomores. You have time to sort of explore these paths as you see fit. Who came into CS? I'm curious, because I did, with the idea that like software engineering was sort of like the only option out of CS. So does it seem that way to anyone? Because it seemed that way to me. And I wish someone had told me early on that like, oh, there's a lot of options here. Like software engineering is the main one, right? But there's a lot of paths that you can go down. So that's what we're really aiming to do here. Really give you a taste of everything. This is what the final project aims to do. So really let you dig into any sort of path that you're interested in.
And also just the fact that even with software engineering is a very generic name for a field that is very, very, very large.
Yes.
There are so many different types of software engineers across multiple different types of technologies. And I think that is what I am going to kind of lead into next, which is, it's a very big field, and depending on all of the different types or different types of software engineering that you may do, there are many different types of programming languages and tools that you would have to learn to explore these different fields. So for example, I think the one, I am of course extremely biased. My first programming language ever was actually Swift, and iOS development is what got me into CS. And so, I think that it's grounded because everybody has a phone, everybody is using either an iPhone or Android or something like that. And that's a really real-world grounded example of something that you can work on. Something like iOS development, you may be using like a programming language. Programming language is generally the first item I put here, like Swift. Android's with Kotlin. If you're interested in like game development, there's like C#, data science, Python is still pervasive. And the thing is that these are all different types of programming languages that all have different syntax. They all have different tools and things to learn. Some of the tools are listed here. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about these languages either next week or in the future. We have to see about the specific timeline. But the thing to keep in mind is also that the classes that you take at UNC, for example, very few of the classes actually cover a lot of these languages. Comp 210, 301, they all teach Java. A more higher level, like 423, the Foundation of Software Engineering class, covers both TypeScript and Python. And some of your more higher level data science classes may cover Python. But some of these very specific languages, like even our mobile class, I think still is teaching in Java. Instead of the more modern Kotlin, and Swift for iOS is not covered yet. So there's a lot of things that a core CS curriculum doesn't necessarily teach. And the reason is because this is not necessarily a major in software engineering, it is a major in computer science. And so there is a bit of a difference in that the computer science major is really trying to give you a very good foundation for all of the concepts that are common amongst all of these things, but they may not actually give you exposure to these directly. And so what happens a lot of times is then it is up to students, either in their free time after all of their exams and all of their work, to start learning some of these things and to explore. And a lot of times, a place that in general we felt fell short in some of, not only ours, but in a lot of different curriculums, is really getting people exposed to what are the types of things which you may have to start learning if you wanted to explore these different fields on your own, and also specifically how you can research into finding things that are important to know and resources to learn. And so that is going to be a very good segue into the final project, because the final project's goal is to try and teach you these skills. Namely, one, you'll be creating a plan for a software side project of your choice. That can be any of the types of projects that we listed, as well as many more. And I'm going to be showing you the final project doc in a second. In addition, one thing which I was very excited to add to this final project is you'll actually be able to begin learning the programming language of your choice. So you will get to choose, as part of this, if there's a language up here, or maybe there's something else that you'd like to learn, you will begin learning and making progress towards learning the absolute basics of those tools and languages. And lastly, it'll hopefully help you to become more familiar with how to do research into figuring out what do I need to know in order to work on something or an idea that I have, and how can I read documentation which is written by developers for developers, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to read. How do I parse this and get the information out of it that I actually need in order to get started on a project? So let's take a look. I'm going to pull this up here, and
if you guys would like to follow along, there's a Canvas announcement with this link. It's well, I'll let Ajay present it. But
Great.
It's right there.
Yep. So this is thank you, Noah. So right here, final project outline. We will open this up from this link and hope it works. There we go. All right. So I am going to see if there is a way, there's a viewing mode, and we'll zoom in. Zoom to 200. All right. This will hopefully help make things a little bit easier to see. So there's a bit of exposition, as there always is. Specifically, no, we are not necessarily getting close to the end of the semester. We originally were going to give this a few weeks from now, but we decided to start it early. Of course, as we talked about in the syllabus piece, there is no final exam. Instead of the final exam for this class, we're going to be working on this project. And all of the same types of goals that we set out on the slide are also listed here. Now, for the grading, there's a few specifics that we'll go over here, and we kind of broke up the final project into different pieces. The final project, I have to double check if this is accurate. I think it still is. It's either 30 or 40, but it should be 30. Regardless, this is not, it's not supposed to be, yes, it's a big percentage, but it's not supposed to be extremely stressful. The grading criteria will be clear, and it should be relatively easy to follow along. And there'll be a very brief in-person presentation. Unfortunately, it's at 8 a.m., but we are required as a class to be here for the final exam time. That's a requirement from the department, so we will be meeting at this time, and instead of doing anything stressful, we'll just be talking about all the different things that you have learned throughout this process. We're going to get started here with the first piece of this, the first major piece of this project, which is the proposal. And over the next few weeks, I'll have a chance to begin working on this proposal. And you can see here that the first thing that you will work on is a outline, or kind of writing out a basic project outline. And this is very open-ended. So you have a lot of freedom in how you would like to approach the different type of projects. And I'm going to show you different kind of ideas to help you with different types of projects that you can work on a little bit further down. The first question is just what type of project would you want to work on? So you're creating a plan for a project of your choice. It's very open-ended. You can make anything that you like. For example, if you're interested in, I don't know, do you have
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you read this, it says software engineering pretty repeatedly throughout because
Yeah.
those are sort of the tracks that we pre-established here. But as we went through, we realized, there's what we wanted to emphasize. In CS, there's a lot more than just software engineering, right? So if you're interested in software engineering, great. This is sort of a perfect template. If you're not, there's some, cybersecurity. What else? Tech writing. If you want to incorporate some more writing-heavy stuff, if you're interested in that, more communication-heavy. Really, anything that you can come up with. Well, just let us know, and in your proposal here, and we'll work with you so that the rest of your project can work around that. And we'll work with you to put together a track, if you, as you'll see in a few minutes here, that you can go down to learn more about that. So really, anything is fair game here, as long as it's somehow under this the umbrella of computer science.
Yeah, so, and also I think, we have worked on Noah and I who have worked on various different types of projects over our time, so I can give you kind of an example of some of the things that, kind of the wide range. I'll say that for myself, I've worked on, iOS development is kind of where I've done a lot of work. So there's one like Chinese language learning app that I'd worked on. One was like a chemistry reference app. Those are just some examples of, that's a side project that I wanted to work on. That specific type of app was a mobile app, and then there was a specific thing or kind of an idea that I wanted that app to help people with. And Noah's also worked on. Do you have any that you'd like to?
I guess mine was more web-based, but Trailhead for 110, if you use that was something I worked on. So that same sort of vein, but just targeting web instead of mobile.
Yeah, and you can even, if there's something you're interested in, even with a video game, either creating a video game, or even sometimes there's different apps you can do, that may help people, either if there's some data out there about a game or some data about something, you'd like to summarize that and put it in an app, that's also fine. So the main piece of Jeff.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, and even if you have something that doesn't lend itself to an app necessarily, right? So I'm thinking cybersecurity is a big area, right? That might not translate into making an app. Maybe this will actually be more an exploration of some subfield of cybersecurity, something that you're interested in, some modern problem. It's really open-ended. Well, we'll work with you too because we're not experts on it yet, but we'll help point you in the right direction.
Yeah. There's some questions like, why did you choose to work on this project? Just if you're interested, you can just write something about maybe why you're interested in that. Target audience. Again, this question I realized after the fact, looking at this. Again, if it's not an app, you can just think of general users. So if you're building an AI chatbot or something, who may use it in terms of a noise example with cybersecurity, who might benefit from this being created. That's another way to think of it. The problem that your project may hope to tackle. So this is it can be any very minor problem, any big problem. It's relatively open-ended in how you choose. Also, there's two questions just to provide a little bit about what types of programming languages you may need to learn in order to work on this project. And we'll be going over, so these two, there'll be a lot more information also from us that'll help you along with these, because that is the part of this is to learn about the different types of projects that are out there and programming languages and tools that you may need to know for those things. Yeah, no, okay. Any questions on the project outline piece? And we'll be going over this in more in detail as well, throughout the next few weeks, and expectations.
Yeah, a little curious here, just by show of hands, who's planning on doing software engineering, building some sort of app or web app is your main thing? Get your hands high. I'm really curious here what the breakdown is. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? Cybersecurity. Anyone? Okay, cool. What else do we have here? Game dev. Does anyone have game dev? Awesome.
Nice.
Data science, ML, I guess we'll loop AI in with that. Awesome. Anything else I didn't mention? Feel free to get your hand up. I don't want to leave you out.
Yeah, and if you also don't know right now, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You can always, there's still time to decide this, and also you can, if there's something, we'll show different tracks. If you're not part of that, don't worry, you can email us and we'll make a custom one for you. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this, think of this more as, even if you don't know yet, or if you're teetering on the edge between some things, maybe it'd be cool to choose the one that you know less about. That you can treat this as sort of a deep dive, dipping your toes into the water, see if you really like something. So
Yeah.
you can approach it from that angle too.
And one thing I will mention off of that, this is also a way to explore something without necessarily taking a more advanced class in it and then having to commit to it for a semester, right? So like, if you are interested in potentially learning about like AI or machine learning, but you don't necessarily want to take like Comp 565 or whatever that course is, and you know, this is a good way to explore that in a more exploratory setting rather than something that's really you're going to be tested on and all that kind of stuff. All right, so another one here is we would like everyone as part of this outline to submit some sort of sketch. So one thing that is very common as we're working on different types of projects, especially apps, but it can also be other things as well, like data science projects, is it's very good to develop a proof of concept kind of in your head or on paper about what your final project, how you envision it looking like in some capacity. Of course, you know, for apps, it's much more, you know, you can draw the screens and all of that kind of stuff. For websites, you can draw that. But also, if there's any type of planning that you may have to do on paper, we sketch it out. We encourage that you submit that. You can do this on paper, so it does not have to be using some sophisticated software. However, if you do choose, there's some different types of software. One very common one is called Figma. Has anyone heard of Figma by chance? Nice. All right, we got some people. Figma is a great app. It allows people to create wireframes. That's the terminology that's used, or like mock-ups or diagrams for user interfaces. So that might be iOS apps or Android apps. That might be websites. You can even, if you're working on a more complex thing like a cybersecurity project, data science project, you can even draw diagrams of like how different things, like let's say you have a database and you have something else and you want to draw arrows or whatever to kind of help you plan out your project. You can do that in Figma as well. A cool thing that I'll mention here is for iOS and Android specifically, both of these companies, Apple and Google, actually release official Figma templates that you can use when designing. So like for example, with Apple in particular, I want to show this because I've used this decent amount. Let's see if it shows up here. Yeah, there's a specific Apple design resources, as you can see, and it provides, let's see, is there a better preview than that? Let's see, page, all right, I'm just gonna go to one. So like, you can see here, this is the page for buttons. So all the different types of buttons in an iOS app that you can do by default are all here. You also have things like your, like alerts that might show up on a screen. Or what's another one, like lists. I like lists. So like see, you know when you're scrolling like in the Mail app and how you can scroll left to like delete emails, they have that as well. And so these are a lot of things, if you're used to using iOS devices, you'll see a lot of these common elements, these design elements. And so if you wanted to kind of go more in depth and really try and design out an app, you can use this tool. And we'll even help you if you would like to come to one of our office hours at some point. I'd be happy to show you how to use this as well if you're interested in that. Google also has one. So if you're an Android user here, we have that as well. So let's see. Here's the material. So Google, they call it the Material Design Kit. And let's see, is there a preview? There we go. So like, same thing here, buttons. So like, see, these are different types of buttons that might show up in an Android app. And you can see how there's all these different styles, like filled button, outline, text button, etc. So this is just a cool resource if you want to design these type of apps. You can use official design resources. And the cool thing with these official design resources is oftentimes there's a one-to-one connection between what you actually code and what is actually here. So like, for example, in iOS, to add a button onto a screen, there's like different button styles, and this design document will tell you the different button styles. So there's kind of a one-to-one thing there. So if you did work on your project in the future, using this official design doc will help you. So if there's a nice sketch of some kind, we might even give extra credit for that. So you know, if you're interested, if you have extra time on your hands and would like to try this out, highly recommend it. It's a skill that will really, really help you throughout all of the different projects you work on.
And if you're not doing just app dev like Ajay mentioned, right, you can think of it as just higher level like diagramming of some sort of system that you're interacting with, or what you know, I can't think of all the uses now, but just some sort of visual representation of something that ties into your project.
Yeah, even a plan, like something as simple as like home screen, arrow, new screen, arrow, something, or with data science, you could have like maybe different different data sources you're working with. So like let's say you're analyzing weather data and you have like a table of cities, a table of altitudes, a table of temperatures, etc. You can draw that as well in a diagram, and that would be perfectly acceptable. Any questions about this? All right, so this will consist, both of those items together will consist of the project proposal. Now this is the one that that will hopefully help to make things a little bit more clear, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit here because I think seeing this more this will help you kind of see the different types of ideas here. The next thing, which is 30%, is what's called the Getting Started tutorial. So you may have seen this in some of the classes you've been part of, but you will see this in the future. A lot of times when you're learning something new, there's usually a resource. It's like getting started. So you're getting started with Python, you're getting started with Java, or getting started with Swift or some other language. And so one of the things that we really wanted to incorporate into this project is for you all to actually not just plan, but get started learning about the types of things that you would need to know to build these different types of projects. And so part of this is that we are going to be providing different tracks and different getting started tutorials that you will be able to work on. And so 30% of the grade will simply be exploring those, going through the different tutorials, and then submitting the code that you write or the things that you work on into a GitHub repository. So for example, we have a few different tracks here that we have already pre-made. Do note that you do not necessarily need to do one of these. If you have, again, something that you'd like to work on that's not listed here, feel free to reach out and we can develop a custom track for the topic that you're working on. So like for example, with iOS development, you can see here the iOS development track. Now do note if you're interested in iOS development, you do need a Mac computer. That is Apple's requirement, so that's just something to keep in mind. But like for example, there's this official tutorial series by Apple where they help to teach you the basics of the Swift and the Swift programming language and some of the tools. And so there are these different chapters that you can begin working on, and they're relatively short, but they help to teach you and help you get familiar with the programming language. And once you can complete these chapters, then you can submit it to us on GitHub, and that will essentially be the getting started portion. So you can see that all of the tutorials that we chose, I really tried to curate them to be the most, to be not only by the companies themselves, like official tutorials, so that they're more curated, and the companies generally spend a lot of time building these, so they're pretty high quality. And we also tried to make sure that they were beginner friendly, so that people who are not necessarily experts in any of the topics in like the current classes they're working on can all still work on this. So like there's one for Android as well. There's a tutorial series made by Google, and there's some intro stuff here. For web development, you can see there are two different ones that we've provided, because web development is one of those where, as Noah is, I'm sure, very aware, because he spends a lot of time in the web world. There is so much, like the web development is just such a large umbrella that we had to include two different resources here, because that's the only way that we felt that people would really be able to understand the basics of this. But because of that, these are slightly shorter. So you can see that the actual list of items, there's less of them to complete, but this will hopefully give a holistic overview. AI app development is one. So a lot of people are interested in building AI-powered apps and chatbots, etc. And so there's this great course here that we looked at that talks a little bit about this. And for this should be in Python. So actually, if you're even in 110, I looked at the schedule for 110 recently, and you probably know everything you need to know for this. Surprisingly, you may think that that's slightly hard to believe, but it should be doable. And if it's not, we can also help. We can help you. So there's that. Game development. We saw some people interested in that. And there's different types of games, like mobile games. That might be more on the side of, you may want to check out the iOS and Android first. But if you're interested in like desktop games and games on the computer, there's a course by Unity, which talks about the essentials of Unity and 3D game development. And so that can be submitted there. Anything to... All right. So the main thing with this is, as you can see here, we're not grading. Actually, I should emphasize, we're not grading off of accuracy. Like I'm not going to read your Swift code and grade you based on how you do it. That's not the point. The point is that you have a chance, you have kind of an excuse, because this is a real class, at UNC. So you have the excuse to be able to dedicate some time to actually learn something that you may be interested in outside of the traditional, more rigid computer science curriculum. And it's mainly just an exploratory thing. We're not grading on accuracy, but you can spend some time on your own learning about different potential fields in computer science and learn about the different languages and tools that you might need to complete these different things.
Yeah, and I think going off of that, these are great jumping off points too, but maybe you already have a really clear idea of what you want to do. If that applies to you, and maybe you found some other tutorial or some sort of getting started thing online that might even be more applicable than the ones we've given, yeah, that's cool. Like, it's just let us know. We want to make sure it's not like, one click and you're done. But we're perfectly willing to work with you. That's sort of the point. Think of us as like your guides here, but it's really driven by you. You come up with it. This is meant to be an exploration. It's meant to be fun. I know a lot of teachers say that about final projects.
Yeah.
It doesn't always hold true, but really this is meant to be at least interesting, if not fun.
I think that one of the main benefits of something something like this is most of the classes that you have, at UNC, there's a very specific, like, you have to do this. This is what we're telling you. It's for the class. You're required to do these steps, and we'll grade you on it. This is more of it's completely open-ended. You can choose what you're interested in. If you don't like iOS development, that's fine. You don't have to do this track. You could do something else. And so we really want to make sure that you choose something that you are truly interested in, that in learning more about. And we also think that if you do so, there's a higher likelihood that you'll actually spend more time on this and really learn if it's something that you're interested in. So as you can see here in red or in purple or pink or whatever this is, if you choose a project that is not represented in the tracks, please let us know. This as soon as possible is not that strict. I should make this lowercase so it's not like, I'll change that later. It's not like something where you have to tell us right now. There's still many weeks because we're releasing this early. So there's a lot more time to think about it. And we can develop a track for you. We'll go through and find resources that will benefit you. Any questions about this? All right. I guess I should, talk about this last thing. So the last piece here is the final thing that we wanted to actually, this will kind of be the final main deliverable, which is an action plan. So you're exploring different projects that you might be interested in doing and in thinking of different ideas. You're getting started learning the absolute basics so that if you wanted to work on this on your own, you'd have kind of a jumping ground, a head start. And the last thing is actually creating a bit of a plan for yourself. So this is an idea of like, okay, well, I have this idea, and how would I actually be able to work on this? If I spent some time over the next few months, maybe after classes, during weekends, dedicate a little bit of time to work on it, how would I do so? And a lot of times, the entire planning process feels like the most daunting piece. It's like I have this idea to make this app, but that looks huge. Like, how in the world am I going to do that? Like, this looks crazy. And so the idea of this piece in the project is to help you kind of lay out the different things that you may have to complete and to put them into more bite-sized pieces and create a plan for yourself to be able to work on this. So we have, I've not read this in a second, so I want to make sure that I understand this right. Yes. So the main thing here is where we want you to kind of chunk time into periods. We write here bi-weekly, so like that's every. In fact, it says here 3 week. So I'll adjust this. The actual range in how we compartmentalize the time is a little bit more open-ended. If you want to be more specific and write like 2 week chunks of plans or 3 weeks, I think both would be fine. But the idea is that you would have these different pieces. So one, you'd have a goal. What would I want to accomplish in this chunk of time? And this could be like learning a new skill. This could be working on a project. This could be, designing something. This could even be reaching out to somebody if you're not sure how to even move forward and you want to talk to somebody else, or you want to find a partner to work on it. That can be a goal as well. And then tasks would be like a checklist of different things that you'd want to complete in this chunk of time. So it's taking your goals and kind of compartmentalizing them into bite-sized pieces that you all can work on. And I think, we write here, like if you really only have like 1 to 2 tasks, which are very similar to the goal that you wrote, it's also possible that those tasks might be too big. So you want to make sure that they are actually doable. When you're writing plans, and you may also know this as well through other types of planning for classes or whatever, if you write really large goals that are not too specific and are kind of not clear enough, it might be harder to complete those because they're maybe too large, they're not doable. So the goal is to really think about things and to break them down. And then also try to include some extra resources that may help you to complete your task. So online, if you're like, I wanna learn how to design an app icon, for example. You can look up, there might be like how to design an app icon. Like online, you can like paste that link in there. And that'll just help you so that in the future when you're trying to do that, you have some resources that you have curated for that. So the goal here is to have 6 to 8 sections. And all of these, I think here, we write 8, but this actually should not take, we're not asking for people to write like paragraphs here. As you can see, like maybe two sentences max per per item. We don't want you to write like a very like an essay here, but it's just enough to help you get thinking about things. Any questions about that? And the specific framework for this, like the actual document that where you can like input stuff in, will be provided for you. You don't have to do it yourself. Any questions on the overview of this?
So just to be very clear, even though I think it's clear here, this is not like an actual schedule that we expect. Like this isn't part of making it's part of your grade. Following it is not part of your grade at all. Okay?
Yeah.
Not tracking into like the winter to see if you continue with that. I just want to make that a very clear case.
Yeah. Your grades won't be IN, like incomplete until January, promise. And the goal again with all this stuff, we want to emphasize we're not trying to reduce points or anything and make you do bad on this assignment. This is mainly supposed to be for helping yourself, and the grading for this is mainly just to make sure that you are completing the work and that you're just following the basic framework. We're not looking for specifics here. And also, I will keep out. We've added all these different pieces here. And they'll be specific. We're going to add recommendations into the schedule of when you may want to start different things and may want to work on submitting. We'll have different checks along the way. That way it's a little bit more clear. So like we'll start off maybe the next few weeks. It will be something about like start working on the project outline and thinking about your idea. And then there will be a specific form where you can fill all this out. And then these will be like different assignments that'll be posted along the way. And it should be clear as to when the due dates are, just to keep that in mind. Because we do realize that dates are not on this document, so.
This is just high level, get you thinking about it now, pretty early on.
Yeah. And then the last thing is just some presentations. So because we're required to be here for final projects, you'll just have the chance to kind of talk a little bit about what you learned along the way. So your project idea, maybe some of the work that you did, what you learned, and what you got out of the experience. As you can see here, do not stress about this. We know presentations can be stressful. You do not need to bring note cards and prepare for something and do all of that. It's really, as long as you just make a very, very baseline effort at answering these 4 questions, you'll be fine. You don't have to worry too much about that. We're mainly just looking that you kind of reflect on some of the things that you worked on, and that's it. We hope that the presentation, again, it's very hard to have fun at 8 a.m. on a Friday on like the last week of school, but we hope that this is more of a fun and lighthearted experience. Yeah. All right. Any questions about this? All right.
If not, I realize there's also one career track. I don't know if anyone was interested, but one that we forgot to cover it's kind of staring us in the face, but academia too, right?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
always research. You might be considering going for a master's or PhD. That is an entire world of its own. So if you're interested in that, right, we can also accommodate that into this final thing here. I mean, me and Ajay are considering that. So
Yeah. If anyone's interested in teaching as well, feel free to reach out, because if you are, if you wanted to do something off of that, we can definitely.
Ajay's your man.
Yeah, I will be. I'd definitely be willing to make different things for that, because that's also really cool. And with teaching, this is again of a tangent, but this also not only just in person teaching. You can also teach, like there's different videos, for example, on YouTube, or creating different resources, and so that's a whole field on its own, CS education. So that'll also be an option if you're interested in that. All right, so let's go back to here. And is there anything left to? Did you want to do a discussion about like how people think about the? Because we have this, but
Oh, you want to do that now?
yeah, or you can, even if you have something you'd like to add. Yeah.
Nothing from me right now.
All
But
right.
yeah, I guess.
Great.
In
So-
around 2 minutes.
Yeah, so we don't have too much time left, but we were just thinking, since we have time left, you can kind of begin looking into this document and kind of just thinking about what, at a very high level, could you be interested in. You don't need to come up with anything right now. There's no submission. And in fact, the homework for this week is just to be, maybe as you're sitting there, maybe if you're on a bus or in a car or something, have nothing to do, just kind of think about, like, what are some things that are interesting to me, and if I wanted to work on a project, what would I think about doing? That's really the only homework. There's nothing to submit. It's just to think about. And even now, if you have any questions, would like to start looking at different projects and checking out the resources we put in that tracks section for the Getting Started tutorial, feel free to do that. And we're here if you have any questions.